Sports Talk Radio, 1240 AM and 102.7 FM, KSAM, Sam Sports. I'm Ray Queen, and I have a treat for you today. If you haven't heard about it, it's the Kalispell Lakers Batter Up Bash, the fundraiser for a new bus for the Kalispell Lakers. I understand they need a bus desperately, and what a way to do it. It's my honor here today on Sam Sports Radio to bring you three-time All-Star, four-time Gold Glove, two-time Silver Slugger, and a Mariner legend, Bret Boone, on the line with me. Bret, thanks for taking the time.
You got it.
April 19th, you're going to be in town. I think you're going to be in town for a couple of days enjoying the Flathead Valley, but the main reason why you're going to be here, you're going to be the keynote speaker for the Kalispell Lakers Batter Up Bash. Why don't you tell the folks out there a little bit about the message that you're going to be delivering?
My message to kids is you're only a kid once, so let's make this experience as good as it can be. I'm all for excelling in sports and being the best player you can, but at the end of the day, I just think we get too caught up in, my son's going to do this or my son's going to do that, when the reality is he's not good enough. But let's make his experience as good as it can be. I want the kids to look back when they have families and have a job and say, you know what, I really enjoyed my childhood athletically. And I think sports has direct relations to life. Sports transcends everything. The things you learn through the competition and through your peers and just the camaraderie you make when you're a young kid, all these things are going to help you out in the real world, out in the business world. And I've coached on different levels where I've got some kids that really have a chance to play at a Division I school and maybe be a professional athlete one day. And then I have that kid that's just doing the best he can. And you can tell right away, well, there's really probably not going to be a future for you in sports. But let's make this experience as good as it can be for you. You're only a kid once. You can't get that childhood back. I want these kids, when they grow up, to look back and remember those Little League days and pony ball, and if it's travel ball, and say, man, my childhood was fun. That was a good time. I've been fortunate enough to have a great career and play Major League Baseball for a long time, but I'll tell you, to this day, some of my greatest memories are in Little League. Going to the tournament and trying to go to Williamsport. Those memories with my childhood friends, part of your transition into life.
Let's just remind folks, your family is a family of generations of baseball. You have 3 generations that made it to the big leagues. Do you see your kids having the same passion for the game that you did growing up?
I do, especially with my oldest son. He's 19. He's a shortstop, and since he was a young kid, that's all he's wanted to do. He's a real good student, but all he's ever wanted to do is play baseball. And he's similar to me as a kid, where if you have nobody to play catch with, he'll be out throwing the tennis ball against the garage. So I do see that passion in Jacob. I try to bring what my parents brought to me. There was never any pressure put on me. I think my dad always thought, well, that's pretty cool that my son wants to be a baseball player, but I was never pushed into it. I try to do the same thing with my kids. Of course, I will support you in whatever you want to do in life, but the fact that he's a baseball player and excelling at baseball right now kind of makes it pretty cool for me to watch him grow and excel. My twin boys, they're just freshmen in high school. They love the game. They're not as passionate as my oldest son, but we'll see as they grow up a little bit more and get more into it. It's something that if you're going to make it in this world as a professional athlete, unless you're a LeBron James or a Michael Jordan or a Ken Griffey Jr., if you're not really passionate about what you do, your chances aren't going to be very well, because all the other guys that are fighting for those few spots at the big league level, they are passionate about it.
How much do you stress academics in your household?
Well, I'm really a terrible example. They give me a hard time. Dad, you didn't do that great in college academically, and I really didn't. It's one of those catch-22s. Do what I say, not what I did. I'll shut them up. Well, Dad, you didn't do this. I said, well, Dad played in the big leagues for 14 years, so it didn't matter. You haven't done that yet. So until you do that, it does matter that the grades come in where they should be. I stress it. It's tough. Being a parent is tough. You've got some kids growing up. They got a lot of things going on. They get to a certain age, and whether it's girls or school activities and sports, it's like the books aren't really their favorite thing to do. I've been lucky with my oldest 2. They were real students, and I loved it. Now, my younger ones, they're kind of more like me, where I've got to crack the whip every day. Did you get your homework done? Let me see your grades. Nowadays it's so easy to access. Back in our day, we were trying to find a way to change the grade book and the report cards came home. Nowadays, everything's so accessible, and I can see their grades anytime I want. The kids can't hide it from you. I try not to be too hard, but I try to stress to them how important it is to go to college, and it's definitely a challenge. I mean, there's a lot of parents out there. They all know what I'm going through. We're no different.
Absolutely. It wears on you. It takes a lot of energy to stay on top of that. I understand that. Let's shift gears a little bit. Kids playing just one sport. What are your thoughts on that topic?
You know what? I don't like it. I'm kind of an old school purist. As I mentioned earlier in the segment, there's not a real good chance that most kids are going to do this for a living. I think it's about quality of life. I think it's about enjoying your childhood.
What about getting a scholarship to play baseball in college?
It's becoming challenging now. It's all about the scholarship, and everybody's specializing in what they want to do. So, the training techniques are better. The diets for these kids, they start training in the gym at an earlier age. There's these travel ball teams that play year-round, whatever sport you're able to do. My thing is, for the elite athlete that's going to play at a professional level and make a career out of this, I think it's all good. But the vast majority aren't going to do this for a living. Look at the statistics, whether it be NBA, NFL, or Major League Baseball. Stats say that your chance is not very good. So I'm more of to be a well-rounded, whatever the kids want to do. If they want to play football and baseball, as a father, I'm going to support them wholeheartedly to get that full experience. Once again, it comes down to when they're out in the real world, when they're adults, when they have their own families. I want my kids to look back at their childhood and said, I'm glad I did that. That was fun. I enjoyed my childhood. Where I just see today there's so much emphasis putting on making it and getting that college scholarship. With the economics and the money in the game, there's those parents that have those expectations for their kids, but aren't really being realistic about them obtaining it. Their whole life, they're running around being on the best travel ball and paying thousands of dollars, all these different lessons, and then the kid has no chance to make it. And it's like, did I really make my kid's childhood better or fulfilling? I think there's a fine line. I think each kid and each parent and each family are individuals, and everybody's not the same. But this crazy society we live in, where the expectation is I got to have the best coach and the best trainers and the best lessons for my kid in whatever sport he may do. I just think it's putting a little too much on kids, and I'd like to look more at let kids be kids and let them do what they want to do. And if you've got that young athlete that is just passionate and just wants to go for it, and that's what he wants to do in life, get behind him and support him. But on a broad base, I don't think it's a positive thing. I think it can be detrimental.
In the same arena, what's your take on moving your child up a different level, playing with that older age group versus with his peers?
Once again, it's all individual. Depends who you are. Depends how good you are. If I've got a 13-year-old that is just so much better than all his classmates and all the other 13-year-olds, and he has that passionate, he is a real athlete, I think playing up a level or two levels to challenge him, I think that can be a positive thing. That doesn't apply to everybody.
Don't you have to see a dominance first before you do that?
That's what I'm saying. If you're 13 or 14-year-old and you're absolutely dominating your age group, and it's really not even fun because you're so much better than this is a rare circumstance. But there are those kids out there that are 14 years old and 6'3" and look like an 18-year-old man, that freshman baseball is not going to get it done for them. They're not going to excel. So moving them up and playing at a higher level, as long as they can compete and be successful at a higher level, I see no problem with that. I just don't see that being the norm. I see that being the exception.
What about in the Little League ranks? Same thing?
I think you leave it up to the kid. I think if you've got a 11-year-old kid that's really elite, but he loves playing Little League and he loves being with his buddies from his class, by all means, let him stay there and play with those kids. If that kid comes home and says, Dad, this isn't challenging enough for me, I don't want to play with those kids, I'm too much better than them. Like I said, that's a rare exception. But whatever makes him happy, if he wants to do it and he's up for it, by all means do it. My problem is when the parents take over and they say, no, little Johnny, you will do this, and you're going to play at a higher level. Well, Dad, I want to play with my buddies from class. And I don't know any of these older kids. That's where I kind of draw a line and say that's not right. The child has got to want to do it. It's all about the experience for the child. Once again, look back when it's all said and done and say, man, that was fun in Little League. That was fun winning and having a Slurpee and a soft pretzel. That's what it's all about. That's what childhood is all about. Looking back and not saying, oh, I was pushed too hard by my parents. That's the last thing I want to do as a parent. The bottom line is this. Cream of the crop, the best players out there, they're going to be in a position to be professionals no matter what. I don't care what lessons you have. If you don't have a certain amount of ability and a certain amount of fast twitch muscle fiber, I don't care if you take lessons from the day you were born. You are not going to be a Major League Baseball player. It's just not in the cards for you. If you have that really elite athletic body and you're born with the genetics and you have an interest in that sport, you are going to have an opportunity. You're fast enough. You're quick enough. It's going to be there. I see all these hitting lessons for 15-year-olds. At the end of the day, you can either hit or you can't hit. And I don't care how many lessons you take or how many camps you go to. If you're not an elite hitter, you'll never be an elite hitter. That being said, if that's not the goal and the goal just is to be the best player you can be, well, then, of course, lessons or being with the right person. That's going to get the most out of what you have to offer. Doesn't mean you're going to be a professional baseball player, a professional football player. But if you want to be the best player you can be in the amateur world and you enjoy that, well, more power to you. I like that. But with the goal being, no, I want to do these camps and these lessons and these travel ball because I'm going to be a big leaguer. If you don't have it in you, it doesn't matter what you do anyway because you're not going to be.
Absolutely. Learning the right way to play the game only allows that person to be able to teach the game to others, too.
I'll tell you what I think. College, high school coaches, as far as turning their players into pro players, I think they're completely irrelevant. When my son was choosing a college, as a parent, when I look at an organization, or it could be a high school coach, whatever it may be, I don't care what he knows from a baseball perspective. I want my son to play for a good man that turns my son into a man and behave like you're supposed to behave and teach him real world lessons. Not how to turn a double play. He'll figure that out with repetition, with trial and error. But I want somebody fathering him in the real world. That's what's important, I think, at the amateur level from a coaching standpoint.
Amen to that. You take a look at a program like Lewis Clark State in Lewiston, Idaho. Legendary coach Ed Sheff. I don't think there's anyone better that made big leaguers out of a small program such as that.
I think there are definitely hotbeds throughout the country of people that have the reputation. But I think, too, you're going to draw that elite athlete to that program and want to live in that area and play for that program. I think the only thing I can really compare that to is like in Cincinnati, Ohio, the Moeller High School. That's where Griffey came out of, and a lot of big leaguers have come out of there, and it's kind of infamous for it in the country. So maybe when you're an elite athlete and you live in that part of the country, you make sure you live in that district where you can go to Moeller High School. So I think that might have something to do with it. But I'm not saying, too, there are coaches out there that really have a knack for it. If they get the right talent, help them be as good as they can be, unlock something that they normally wouldn't. If my love and passion was basketball as a kid, and that's all I did, good chance Bret Boone wouldn't be an NBA point guard. There's an example for you.
That's for sure. Hey, you're not going to get away from this interview without talking turkey about the game of baseball. Today, you're seeing an all-time high in strikeouts. You're seeing batters making huge money with huge amount of strikeouts. What are your thoughts on today's swing and what they're trying to teach these younger players?
These launch angles, I don't buy into it. I think for Chris Bryant, who kind of brought it to the forefront, here's a 6'5", strapping, really talented, elite player talking about he tries to hit fly balls. Well, for Chris Bryant, that's good. But for a 13-year-old Little League player, that's going to be his downfall because that's not in his tool chest. He doesn't have the ability to hit high fly balls that go out of the ballpark. Chris Bryant does. I would never have that approach with my game. Like I said, my game was to get a good pitch to hit, get my body into hitting position. If I do that consistently, I'm going to give myself the best chance to be as successful as I can be as an individual. This game is such a team sport, but it's so individualized. You've got to know who you are, your limits, what makes you a real tangible part of a team, and go with that on an individual basis. Some people are going to be second basemen, shortstops. Some people can't do that type of stuff, and they're right fielders. Some people hit home runs. Some kids grow up and they don't have a home run swing, and it doesn't matter all the launch angles that you want to teach them. They're just not home run hitters. And I think that transcends to football. Everybody's not a quarterback. Some are linebackers and some are wide receivers. Some are point guards and some are power forward. You got to look at what you got to bring to the table and be the best you can be individually. I'm very old school, but I'm also not naive enough to say all the strides we've made technologically wise, just flat ignore them. I think that would be ignorant. I was a guy that always looking for something that can help me, and I was a video rat. I wanted to see every piece of video I can on the team we're about to play or the starting pitcher. So I'm all for being as prepared as you can possibly be. My mentor as a hitter later in my career was Edgar Martinez, and I watched how he played the game. And it would be 7-2 in the sixth inning of a game, and there'd be a runner on second base, less than 2 outs, and Edgar would hit a hard ground ball to second base. And I'd look at him, I'd say, you know, in a 7-2 game, I understand if it's 3-2, but it's 7-2, why are you giving yourself up? He said, I'm not giving myself up. I'm playing the game the right way. And in the long run, over the long haul, that's going to be better for me, and it's going to be better for my team. Well, I took that advice, and I started playing that way. And I found that when I play that way and Edgar plays that way, then the next guy's going to play that way. And the next thing you know, that 25th guy on the roster that plays twice a week, he's going to play that way. And in the end, our team is going to be twice as good as we would be because we play the game the right way. I don't see that much in today's game consistently. I saw the Boston Red Sox last year play that way. They've got a trophy right now. I see the elite hitters in the game taking an approach like Tony Gwynn would take an approach. But consistently, I don't see that across baseball. I'd like to see more of that. I think the players today are bigger, stronger, faster. They're in better shape. Their diets are in order. The preparation is better. So I think the physical specimen you see on the field is a more elite athlete than it was 20 years ago. But that doesn't mean necessarily they're better baseball players than they are now. Man, I walk into a clubhouse now, a major league clubhouse, or even a minor league clubhouse. These guys are all 6'6" and in great shape and throw 98 miles an hour. It doesn't mean they're a great pitcher. You know, I'll take a Greg Maddux any day. I'll take a technician out there throwing 93 that knows what he's doing. So I don't think the players are necessarily better baseball players. They're not. But from a physical aspect, they're superior than, like I said, even 20 years ago.
Let's look at the shift. That really drives me crazy as a baseball fan. Why do they not just lay a bunt down and get on first?
That drives me nuts, with the left-handed hitters especially.
Thank you.
I've talked to a lot of executives. They asked me my opinion on the shift. I said, there's no way. No one would ever tell me defensively in my prime where to play a hitter. I'm not just winging it out there. I have intel. I've had a lot of experience playing against this guy. I've got to take into consideration everything. The hitter, the pitcher, the situation of the game, the catcher. I've got to know that when they call for a fastball away, I know with Greg Maddux, 99% of the time, when he misses, he's going to miss by inches. He's not going to call for a fastball away and throw one up and in. So I can pretty much set my defense because I trust where this next pitch is going to be. Someone further down in the rotation, 6th, 7th in the pecking order, he might not have that type of control. So just because he calls for a fastball away, who knows? I got to watch what's going on today. He doesn't have it today. He's not getting to that arm angle. So he's not going to be able to repeat consistently location. So now as a defender, I've got to take that in consideration. You know, just because this guy's a pull hitter doesn't mean I'm playing him deep to pull on every pitch. If it's a two-seamer away and I've got a guy in the mound then to execute that pitch, why would I play him deep in the hole? Same count is I'm not going to play him the same position when he's going to throw him a 3-1 changeup. You got to take all that into account. And I think especially the big league defender should be elite at that point. I think you put the onus on them and trust your middle infielders. Trust your players. They're really good players. They're big league players for a reason. I just think you're taking a little bit away from the individuals on how they would defend somebody. But then again, who knows? You know, I'm not there. I don't see the intel on a daily basis, so I'm not an expert on it. I'm just kind of thinking logically on what the game, how it's played at the highest level, and how you have to individualize it from a defensive standpoint.
I think an easy correction would be to start laying down a bunt.
Take a guy from my generation like a Larry Walker. If Larry Walker played today, now this guy's an elite, great hitter, big power guy. But I'll tell you what, if they shifted on Larry Walker, he would lay a bunt down every single time. And that's the only way you eliminate a shift.
Absolutely.
If you get up and you take your bunt base hit and you just go to first and laugh, like, I'm going to keep doing this because if I get to first, that's a better chance of me scoring a point for my team.
Your batting average would increase by 50 points.
Oh, if I was a left-handed hitter in today's game, all off season I'd be working on my drag bunts. I would take my hit and laugh all the way to first base. I probably wouldn't get the smile off my face till I scored. And then if they shifted on me again, I'd do it again. And then I'd do it again. And eventually they're not going to be able to shift on me, and now I can go about my business.
Why are they not doing it today?
They're not smart enough. I don't know.
Is that an unwritten rule in today's game?
Not at all. Not at all. The unwritten rules, they're ridiculous. Some of the people that talk about unwritten rules don't even know what an unwritten rule is. If a guy has a no-hitter, I don't care that he's got a no-hitter. That's not my job. My job is to beat him today. My job is for my team to score more runs than his team. So I don't care about your no-hitter. If it's 9-0 in the ninth inning and you're winning, you don't get to first and steal second base.
Right.
That's just being unprofessional. Those are obvious things that you don't do to show up an opponent. But in the ninth inning, if it's 4-0 and you're losing and the guy's got a no-hitter and I can get on with a bunt single, I don't give a crap about his no-hitter. My job is to get on base to give my team the chance to win. And that's the forefront of everything. First and foremost at the big league level is to win. That's the bottom line. However you do that is however you do that. It's not about developing or playing a certain way. It's win the game at the big league level. That's what it comes down to. And however you do that, you do that. If you hurt people's feelings, tough crap.
Well, Bret Boone, we do thank you for taking your time. You have an event April 19th. It's the Kalispell Lakers Batter Up Bash. You're the keynote speaker. I'm sure you'll have a great message. I understand you're going to be playing some golf and enjoying the area, and we are excited to have you come to this area.
I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be a fun night. And like I said, we'll raise some money for a good cause and get those guys a bus, and I'll see you in about 5 weeks.
Get to know Bret Boone. He'll be here April 19th at the Expo Building at the Flathead County Fairgrounds for the Kalispell Lakers Batter Up Bash, and I'm sure we will be talking to you again. Bret Boone, thanks for taking the time out of your precious day.
You got it. Thanks, Ray.
Get your table reserved today. Get your tickets at John Halland Allstate Insurance Agency in the Hutton Ranch Plaza or online at KalispellLakers.org.